Hi, I'm Bryce.
And I'm Jimmy.
We are telecom and creative professionals. We're also fans of podcasting as our respective careers give us an abundance of windshield time.
While there is a podcast for just about any obscure topic you can think of, there was no regular podcast pertaining to Montana politics.
And that is why, with our combined powers, we are Montana Voices Podcast.
We strive to be an independent voice for all issues pertaining to Montanans and Montana politics.
We also strive to be very forthcoming with our personal biases as we attempt to see beyond them.
Montana Voices Podcast does not operate in a vacuum. We need your support, whether that be listening to our cast, providing us feedback, sending us conversation topics, sharing our content, or providing financial support.
We look forward to a long career in podcasting with your added assistance. All right, we're live here.
Absolutely.
You can hear us on our live stream as well at the moment.
Live stream quotation marks. I think Twitch is some 30 seconds behind, or somewhere around there. So,
but got to give it a minute. It's got to go to space and back.
Yep, probably several times. But welcome to episode 20 of Montana Voices, and we'll run through our business here real quick.
Indeed. You're probably already watching us or listening to this currently at our website, which is going to be montanavoicespodcast.com. If you'd like to reach out to us, the easiest way to do so is going to be at our email address, which is montanavoices@gmail.com. Our Twitter page is going to be at Montana_voices. Our Facebook is at Montana Voices Podcast. Our Twitch, which is currently coming at you live, finally, after months of preparation, is twitch.tv/Montana Voices. And then you can catch all of our episodes at YouTube if you search for Montana Voices Podcast.
Well, it's great to be here, and we'll get right into the business here. You know, our bodies might be cold and weak, but these topics are hot, Bryce.
Indeed. For that record, I got to say, I just got to express my distaste with the current weather situation here with the state.
You say the state as if it's all Great Falls, but here in the places that are not Great Falls, the weather is downright tolerable. I think it was high of 40 here in Missoula today. Roads are downright decent. There's not 2 feet of snow, so things are looking up over here.
Wow, I'm a little envious for once of Missoula. It's been quite a while since I've wanted to be there instead of Great Falls, so this is quite the change.
Yeah, and it's not just us here. We're sort of insulated in the valley here, but as I went up north, I was almost in Havre in the Big Sandy, home of Montana Senator Jon Tester, of course, and their weather was a little windy, but not that same brutal cold and that windy blowing snow that you guys had there.
Yeah, it was pretty insane. I feel like it should have been done weeks ago at this point.
Yeah, well, maybe we're off to an early spring. But, well, let's dive right into our news. First, we'll go into some recap and then get on to some of our newer topics here. One of the things we covered, and as far as I can tell, on this specific issue, there's only one, I guess we'll call it, they're an online news outlet. I said I wouldn't mention the Montana Free Press, but, it's just a holdover from a previous episode, Bryce. We just heard it on the internet. Some random commenter, probably. But they are the only people reporting on the fact that they're now hiding legal bill notes. And I think I explained the process in a previous episode where, of course, we have a citizens legislature. So when they want a bill, they request that some sort of intern or somebody with an actual legal background does it, that's an actual employee of the state. They write it up in all the legalese that they need. But previously, up until this term, they would include legal notes on it because these are legalese people. It's paralegals and actual lawyers that are writing these bills that get voted on the floor. So previously, if there might have been a constitutional or a Montana or federal constitution issue with a bill, it would be noted. And granted, understand that doesn't affect how you can still vote on the bill, and it doesn't affect how that goes through or the process, but it is a note to consider. And often if something's going to be unconstitutional, you wouldn't want to vote and waste your time on that bill anyway. So, but no longer. Those will now be hidden, and the only people reporting that are the Montana Free Press.
Oh, well, at least someone out there is bringing light onto stuff like this. I'm still really conflicted about mentioning them.
Well, they do have a competing podcast, so or not competing. They have a different market entirely. I think their last podcast they spent a week talking to the Democratic whip, and it was not one of their better ones. They've had better ones. I enjoyed their one with that Butcher guy from Great Falls, and a few other ones I do occasionally drop in. They're only weekly, and I guess have less content than us anyway. So we're going for the younger crowd, different market entirely.
That it is. Case in point here, we're broadcasting live on Twitch right now. I don't think that they even have a Twitch account.
I would be surprised if they did.
Yeah.
So a number of things for our recap. Firework taxes. That's House Bill 22. Hearing has been canceled. That one's going nowhere. We are not going to tax fireworks, which is good because I thought we were pretty clear on that being theft. So.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a subject for confliction, though, to an extent, you'd think, because is it taxation on being theft in that regard? But it's for America's birthday, so like the country you love, it becomes a really big "don't tread on me." I don't know. Don't tread on me, but tread on others. I'll support your treading, but as long as it's not on me.
Yeah, and we did. I think we might have covered this topic, but the sort of spreading risk. Because obviously, people that engage in fireworks are more likely to cause fires. So in that aspect, it makes sense. But is the service of taxing the people that are responsible or they're using the services, if that's the way we're going to go. Some libertarians would argue that it is, including John Stossel from Reason, or he had a piece on it about finding people that do extreme sports and injure themselves, basically.
Geez, Stossel, I remember that guy. Wasn't he with Fox News?
Yeah, I thought he got fired from ABC or something, and then he moved over to Fox. Probably a better home for him.
That makes sense for me, that he would get fired there.
Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure of the exact things there. So we also discussed Senate Bill 52 regarding rape kits. That is going somewhere. It is in hearings, so something will happen on that this session, hopefully. The bill's about pornography. There's been no action on this. It didn't even get it to a full bill. It was just a draft bill. So pornography in Montana is not a public health concern as of yet.
I see.
Lee, moving on to wolves. Of course, from Bob Brown, very concerned with wolves. His bill was tabled. Indian Education Act had a hearing. Has not been voted on yet. And other things that got tabled. Remedial English, brewery hours extending to 10 p.m., something that I was very passionate about. That is tabled, so going nowhere. And apparently the same thing with Colstrip. We will not be buying Colstrip.
That one really surprised me. I figured there would be a lot more support behind having having the microbreweries open until 10.
I thought so too, but the Bud Light lobby is very, I
guess,
very powerful.
And Anheuser-Busch arm there. Well, because a lot of the your normal bars, that cuts into their business pretty hard, I imagine. But even so, it's just 2 hours. You can't give them 2 hours. You guys are open till 2 a.m.
Yeah, it was not lifting the 48 ounces rule though. So it's still, the bar scene and the brewery scene, I think, are different places. So they're not
absolutely.
They're pretty exclusive. I wouldn't say exclusive, but one crowd is not often mingled in the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got new issues here, and something out of Great Falls about Special Olympics. Am I seeing that here?
Indeed, the new communications director, which is a position that a lot of people in town really didn't understand why we had to begin with. Because, if you just took a look at the online presence of the town, you could see why they wanted a communications director, because there's a lot of people really angry about Great Falls and a lot of things going on around here right now. So I could see them wanting somebody to kind of stifle the blows.
Well, so to be clear, none of those people were angry about the Special Olympics. I didn't think there was no sour news on that, right?
No, not on that. They're going to Oh, I'm sorry. I should have explained myself a bit more on that. They hired the former VP of Outreach for Special Olympics of Montana to be the new communications specialist for the city of Great Falls.
Ooh. Oh. So not for the Special Olympics. Well, I can read things.
No. It's no, that's her current job. So I don't know if she's going to keep that one. I'm not sure how much you would need. How that's a good question. How much hours are needed for this position of Great Falls Communication Director?
That's interesting. We discussed this in a previous episode of why that's a position when they were looking to fill that position, and why that just isn't, outsourced to a company like that place by Crooked Tree. I forget their name, but somebody that's actually, this is their job. So communications director, you get to say things and, answer questions and etc. I'm not sure exactly what they do other than update the Facebook once a week or something.
I imagine it's probably something like that.
I suppose would be the face of the city of Great Falls for announcements of things. So somebody to stand in front of a microphone and etc.
Indeed.
Heck, why can't that be outsourced? You can just have one guy travel around the state. We only need one. We got to be more efficient here. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's 2019 as well, so a lot of that's going to be on the internet anymore, you'd think. I imagine a lot of it's social media management, keeping, online stories, with the eCity Beat at bay and such.
Oh, and speaking of them, I guess they are in our next one. Hauk is, I guess, getting in trouble. She has a formal complaint and about that is Hauk from over there.
That's actually the electricgf.com that we're seeing that on. Looks like
Electric. It also was featured on eCity Beat, I believe.
Oh man, she really pissed people off, didn't she?
Yeah, I believe so. So, by promoting, or she had a post about her women's march. I guess using a social media post. It was on her city managed social media, I guess.
Oh. Everybody at the top there with the city department right now is probably pointing at that specifically, like, see, this is why we need somebody specifically to run this kind of stuff for us. And collectively there are a lot of eye rolls, I'm sure. But I don't know, what other kind of stuff is she promoted on her city-run Facebook page?
As far as I can see, only that. Only for the women's march.
There's no. Well, I mean, what other marches have we had even in town?
Yeah, that's a good question. So not much.
I'll have to go back and
there, Bryce.
Take a look at her at her page to be on this fully certain there, but I can't imagine that she's blacklisting other groups that are having parades.
She might. She also had a hand in the parade, or the march, so it wasn't just, hey, this is happening, come check this out. It was, promoting a group that she was a part of. So, it's a hand-delivered written complaint, and the city has had to hire an attorney to investigate this.
Ooh, expensive.
Yep, who's going to represent and advise the ethics committee during a hearing on the subject. So this, seems... this is partisan politics, I think, in my opinion. It seems pretty benign, but, I understand why we have these rules, and it's unfortunate that we have to waste money on these issues.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I have a feeling they'll probably look back at this kind of stuff and then use that as reasoning for why Tracy is costing the city too much money and why we need somebody different who's going to run things much cheaper for us. And, I can see why you'd want somebody cheaper if you're going to throw these crazy allegations that are going to result in actually having to hire an attorney.
They're not cheap.
Maybe, I don't want to make it seem like I'm towing the line for Hauk here because I've never even met the lady before, but I think that just sounds to me like a really stupid thing to get your arms raised up over. This is the kind of cronyism that we're talking about. She used her Facebook page to promote a women's march that was going to be happening around the entire country that specific day.
Yeah, that is, you got to start somewhere. But they also, to take it a level up higher, they're actually getting Stapleton for that. He announced his candidacy via his official government email, and he is actually getting fined for that. So it's not just... See how widespread this problem is, Bryce?
I guess capital cronyism there.
But I doubt the same people that are complaining about how will be complaining about Stapleton.
What was his deal even? He just announced his too early, didn't he?
No, he announced it on his government email.
Oh, that's it. Oh, so, I mean, that's kind of a lame thing to go down for then, because was he sending it only to, like, his email contacts then, or to people on his mailing list?
You know, it didn't say whom he sent it to. Probably the people on his mailing list, I imagine. So, it was a statewide thing, but it sounds like a mass email campaign using his official chief of staff email account.
Well, I mean, I guess, you got to make examples of one person. You got to make an example of everybody else there. You can't let anyone slide. Otherwise, that would be considered favoritism.
Yeah, well, it's costing him about $4,000.
Ouch. Well, I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, he's going to do just fine. Okay, so looking further into this, he sent the announcement from his personal email account to his chief of staff's email account. Then he forwarded it to another employee. It sounds like it was forwarded 3 times. Who put the state seal on it from her state account, and only went to 154 members of media.
Oh, that's so dumb.
Yeah, that sounds more like some sort of procedural thing that failed, and it's costing him $4,000.
Oof, that is a lot of cash.
Well,
for something so stupid, I should say it's a lot of cash.
Yeah, absolutely. So. And speaking of cash, some economic news, and this one is pulled from the ECD Beat. We didn't want to spend too much time on sort of Great Falls matters, but this does cover, statewide issues about what do they call it, a mini metropolis, basically. Towns, a little over 50,000 people that are, and how they're doing economically and how the outlook is. And Great Falls did not do well. It got beaten out by Butte.
Ooh, well, they got all that mining money.
Yeah, that's.
I'm only saying that because Great Falls is nothing that I can say to combat it. Is like, well, this is we've got better things too here, but I wish I could have a good outlook here, but Jim, they're closing Shopko.
I know.
And Payless Shoes. Did you hear about Payless?
Well, that's not a Great Falls thing. That's everywhere. And I don't know, that's sort of, the economy's changing, basically. I want my shoes to be organic and free trade and free range as well.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I see that, though, and I hear a lot about people wanting different businesses to come to the town, and I'm wondering who's going to take up those spots in the mall now.
Well, eventually it'll be like the Westgate, and the oil company will rent it out for, office space or whatever's in the Westgate Mall over there nowadays.
Yeah, I imagine they have a coffee table in there or something.
Yeah, something important. So, speaking of business over there, finally went to the Black Bear Diner. It was a bit underwhelming.
Oh, yeah?
And overpriced.
I had the same feeling when I went. I was expecting a much better experience. Mind-blowing almost. I really had built it up in my head, I guess, just based off of the Black Bears, the whole woodsy elements to it. And when I got in there, it was dinner time, and so I had just gotten turkey, and it was all right. And then I thought about it. I was like, maybe this is only because I'm not here at breakfast time. So I came back at a different time at breakfast time, and it's still about the same. I'll be going back to Perkins sooner, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a better option, and definitely more bang for your buck. But I was there, and maybe in their defense, a little bit after close, but sort of not in their defense, I wouldn't have been there after close if we had gotten anything in a timely manner. So,
Ah, jeez. Yeah, that's the other thing I heard too from a lot of the people is that the wait time was pretty insane. I know that it's a new business, so a lot of times those places get packed, but it sounds like this one that wasn't necessarily the case.
yeah, we were there during the big snowfall, so nobody was out. We were one of 3 tables that were occupied in the place.
I see. How long did it take?
From well, it took about 20 minutes to even get an order in. I never got got a refill on the water that I had to specifically ask for, and from ordering to food, a little over 30 minutes.
Ugh. And did you follow through with the entire thing, or did you end up leaving?
Well, we went through the entire thing. We were in the restaurant for over an hour, which was way too long, but no fault of our own.
Well, that is unfortunate.
So, well, back to the economic opportunity here. There's an eCity Beat article about Great Falls being lackluster, and I am going to agree with it there. Maybe not as condemning as the author would point out there, but it's because it is nationwide that it's ranking, and although Great Falls is getting beaten by Butte, which is there's a lot of independent small businesses in Butte, which is they're really in a position to take advantage of the way the storefronts and economic opportunities going. So we don't crap on Butte too much.
No, that's one thing that they definitely have done right over Great Falls is keep those local businesses alive. Great Falls, you still see all the time these local shops just not be around, period. I really hope Perez Food Basket can keep it open still for a couple more years.
Or they must be getting close to retirement themselves. I'm not sure if the kids were going to take it over. I think one of the daughters works with them, or what their plans is after they decide to enjoy that sweet Social Security money.
I believe so. Yeah, I should go down there this weekend.
Well, you're going to have to ask the questions. So we need boots on the ground here, Bryce.
Yeah, maybe we should do a little investigative reporting there.
Yeah. Ooh, getting into reporting. But, things aren't terrible in Great Falls. It's just stagnant, but I think it's that way by design. That's exactly how the city commissioner wants it, or the commission as a whole wants it. And there is some defense for slow, sustained growth, which Great Falls does sort of have, just very slow.
Yeah, well, that's Commissioner Houck there, right?
Yes, Houck. Houck and the others, and the entire commission at large. So they're, I think for a long time they've wanted that. There's some resistance to new businesses. Like look what happened when that was that the food farm, and then there was
Madison
the slaughterhouse, food park and slaughterhouse, and
yeah, it is a slaughterhouse. I don't know why they call it a food park. That's a weird name, but the more I look into that, I understand the need for jobs and stuff, but it doesn't seem like the best type of industry necessarily to bring directly to our doorstep.
It's perfectly canon for Great Falls, though, because, it was one of the big driving forces behind Great Falls was the smelter over there, which is, good paying jobs, but certainly not educated jobs. So we'd be attracting a lot of those folks, and, it's, perfectly in line for Great Falls. Yeah, but I guess that's not happening at this point, as I understand.
No, because there's still quite a few people in town that are flipping out about it, rightfully so. If you look into a lot of the risks that are involved with food parks of this size and capacity, there's a lot of good because, your jobs, you can scream jobs to the top of your lungs until you're blue in the face there, but that isn't going to make the water clean necessarily or the air clean.
Well, have you seen the Missouri? There might as well be a food park on it. So it's pretty dirty and muddy, and an occasional dead cow flows downstream.
Yeah, it's
as opposed to the pristine Yellowstone or anything else. But so,
well, it doesn't come quite up to the Berkeley pit standards there, but
not quite.
We'll still pass up on swimming usually.
I've been in that more than I should have. But, I guess there isn't any economic education coming either. University of Great Falls, or, I'm against renaming things. So they were the College of Great Falls, but then they wanted to be called the University of Great Falls because it was more official, I guess. And they changed it Providence University or whatever they're going by nowadays. They're shuttering a lot of their programs.
Yeah, quite a lot. I forget what the number is, but it was a significant amount. And I didn't even think about that with the name change like right before this, but you'd think that would have fixed all of those issues altogether.
Yep, name changes always do. Always do. They're even cutting theology, which is
Oof.
interesting.
Now this really is like a college like that, as opposed to the Great Falls College MSU there, which is essentially straight out of tech school there, vocational stuff. Whereas Providence is more a place you go to. People might get pissed at me for this, but it's a place you go to waste your money. If you want a degree that's not going to have like a need for that in the world, or something you're going to be able to pay back easily, those are the kind of places you can go for,
Well, maybe you should issue a correction there. Not a place to waste your money, but your parents' money.
Indeed. Well, yeah.
And
potentially, if you can get them to co-sign on your loan.
Yep, exactly. And it sort of feels, at least when I was considering going there, that it's just a place that you send your troubled kids. Almost, you're going to go to Montana. We're going to get you away from the bad crowd, and you're going to do better.
It's weird too. I've been over to the Providence College, and there are like quite a few kids there that are from out of state, and it seems like such a weird place to, set up shop in from outside of the state. Where can you, having that conversation with all of your pals right after you're out of high school of, where are you going to go to college? Phil he got into Harvard there. Did you hear about that? Well, that's neat. What about you? I'm going to Great Falls. Well, where's Great Falls? Like from the American Pie movie? No, Montana. And then, what? And then, and then they start Wikipedia in Great Falls, and then they find out about Bar Jonah same day.
Same. Is he on the official? Geez. I guess now we're going to have to look that up here. So, yeah, quite a few. Education, special ed, elementary, secondary, all going. Health and physical ed going. I'm not even sure. Maybe they should have listed what programs they're going to have left.
Yeah, if the list is going to be smaller, it would have saved paper and effectively saving them more money, which sounds like they are in need of doing right now.
Yeah, and apparently, the business model of getting students from people that get lost on the way to Target is not sustainable. Who could have known?
Yeah, that's basically all it is, too. There is just a shortcut in order to get through that parking lot a little faster.
But it's not all bad news. Things are looking up. Hemp processing is coming to Sun River and some other smaller sites around the state as well. Specifically, but it looks like the Sun River is going to be a major industrial one if they get the special permit. It passed for Sun River, so hemp is going to be happening in your neighborhood soon.
Perfect. Well, be sure to, I guess light up is not the term because you can't smoke the stuff, but
is that the difference? You can't smoke hemp?
What can you do with hemp, though, I get?
You can make rope.
Oh, well, be sure to string yourself up some there, huh?
Well, I don't know. It has a lot of other uses that I'm not familiar with. We've got plastics for all those things. But there is a hearing on it. There's another bill that's going through the legislature, and we'll update you as we get more info on it about limiting the THC content of hemp. As you know, they're closely related.
Indeed. It'll be interesting to see what's going forward with that. I believe there's also a study going across right now just for straight up legalization of marijuana, right?
A study? As far as I know, there's no legislative action on that as of right now, so... But that would be interesting because that's something they'd probably make I think called a referendum on. Basically, the legislature votes on it, and then they let the public vote on it after the fact.
Yeah. Yeah, there might be something to that effect, I believe. They were getting people to check into it, though, scientists and the likes. So maybe they'll have some people check into the financial section as well and see how much money's being made in Colorado compared to Montana, and then from there decide that they've been making wrong decisions, potentially.
Maybe. And there is some other concerns with that as well. Some people say that, with all this money they're getting, there's other problems that come with it. But also to be studied.
What kind of problems, I wonder? Problems I'm willing to have potentially there, I guess it's a matter of what we can get involved with there, but I don't think it would be that bad.
So I will have to congratulate another issue, the Gazette, on doing actual reporting on things, which is, new for them. I guess the Gazette and Q2, there was an issue a while back of, I guess, was 3 different police officers that were having relations with, some sort of intern, somebody who handled the evidence, and of course know her name because she was fired. So they refused to release the names of the officers involved in that. And
of course, now why would we? Wow, ugh.
Yeah, why would we want to know that ever? But that is of course a public record, which it should be released. And then later, the public, including the Gazette and Q2, demanded those names because, that's what journalists should do. And the department basically stonewalled them and said they had some sort of injunction that they're, working through, and delayed that even further, and they actually had to be sued to get those names out of them. So that was, and now the Billings has to pay back their court costs for that information. So,
man,
Billings classing it up again.
Oh, that's going to have some bitter people there if they ever have to respond to any homeless disputes outside of the Q2 building in downtown Billings.
Yeah, that's right. Don't bite those hands. I would hope they're more professional than that. But as we discussed in the previous cast, they are cutting the shrubs to help with the homeless down there. So I guess that's no longer going to be an issue.
I want to see how this does.
Well, maybe we'll have to follow up on that and see if they actually did cut the shrubs. So, the story gets a bit more involved because the woman here was apparently she was fired for stealing narcotics from the evidence lockers. So, an addict herself, and I read through the article and it doesn't specifically lay this out, but it sounds like that she was basically having sex with at least these 3 officers that we know of to sort of hide her malfeasance and of thieving OxyContin, basically. So, great.
I feel like this would be. Did the city of Billings retain the rights to this story? Because this seems like something that could be sold off to it's like Lifetime,
A Lifetime story, or is that an HBO story? Or
this sounds like more of an
HBO
story. I don't know, maybe a Showtime. It's a little not as classy necessarily.
Yeah, a good point there. So, maybe they should retain the rights to that. That would be interesting. They could recoup some of their costs that they're going to have to pay to the Q2 and the Gazette down there.
Yeah. Speaking of that, let me look it up here real quick, Jim. This isn't directly related, but I just thought of it off the top of my head. There was a trailer out the other day for a new movie coming out on Netflix that features a woman who moves to Butte, Montana.
Yep, I have seen that. Butte, which, first joke in the thing. You're moving to Butt?
Exactly. Oh, they threw that joke in right away. And,
yeah, you got to get...
And the whole state collectively rolled their eyes.
Yeah, considered watching an episode of that, because that could be interesting. She's going to travel around, from what I gathered on the trailer. So, starting in Butte and maybe there's some other Montana towns featured.
Is it a show or is it a movie? I thought it was a movie.
I thought it was episodic, but yeah, I could be wrong. So,
either way, right on Netflix for putting the best state in the union in your show. I'm not sure if they actually filmed on location. Chances are they don't. They usually go to those places that have the tax breaks for them and all that. But
I'm sure Butte will give them a tax break. My goodness, and you can't replicate Butte. I mean, everything's a historic district down there. I mean, and you can't replicate it. Just the amount of lead that you'd have for the paint is the costs are through the roof.
Oh yeah, no. And then on top of that, all the EPA, tape you got to rip through nowadays. You can't get anything outside of that true Berkeley pit. Maybe CGI.
Is this why they never tear anything down in Butte? Just because of the environmental hazards?
They're holding out, historical value, and then on top of that, if anyone wants to do a period piece about our mining history in Butte, well, boy, we are ready for it. I tell you what, we haven't changed one thing since the 1800s here.
But it is because all of Butte Uptown is what they consider a historic district, with the exception of the new Northwestern Energy building there. So it's all historic. So you can't just go and tear it down or make renovations to it without consulting your local Butte government in this case. But I wonder if you want to tear down some of those buildings. Not suggesting that you do. If you actually have to conduct an EPA study because of the lead and other asbestos and pollution that's in there.
I imagine so, which is probably why Northwestern Energy is the only one who was able to actually get a new building built in that area.
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot of the big box store economic opportunity and new housing that's going on the other side of Butte. I guess that's as you leave Butte on the interstate towards Billings. So a lot of new things there which would be not uptown and not downtown, but definitely the suburbs almost. So see, Butte is a hopping place.
It really is. I've grown to like the town a lot more than I used to.
I haven't, and from what I'm seeing, I can actually afford a business rental in Uptown Butte. The rates are downright affordable. Rent an entire corner building for some $500 a month.
Well, that is not bad. Just you bring your own water.
Yeah, does that get out arsenic? I don't think so.
I don't know. I really want. Now I'm curious about the water studies in Butte. I know that when I go there, I usually don't drink it.
Well, you get the bottled water in the hotel. You don't want to take chances there. But I guess there's last I knew there was elevated lead in the air, I heard. So
in the air.
In the air.
Oh, that doesn't sound very good.
No. A lot of big concerns in Butte. So anyway, we got off topic here. I had a note here that we were going to talk about consent with that Billings and the cop sex story.
I see. Yeah.
Or are we too not edgy enough for that?
There was okay. So this is. I wasn't aware of this either. It's like a rape was involved with one of those 3 incidents.
No, there was no. No, and nobody has said that. But I'm saying it could have because of a big power imbalance.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Depending on if she was caught red-handed and then that person then used their position of power to, sway influence over them very well, potentially.
Yeah.
With it happening on
the grounds,
sounds
in
like
the evidence locker, that definitely could have been a case.
Yeah, if it was in the evidence locker where she was like stealing the evidence from, yeah, I could see that. But 3 different people doing it as well, that's weird. Like I said, this is going to be quite the.
It's peak Billings, if you ask me.
Yeah, absolutely. Billings Beat, have they put out a story on this?
The Billings Beat has not. The last update they had is that I guess Amazon is not moving to Billings because Bezos could not get a good rate from the Pony Express.
Geez. Well, that's something I was wondering there when I found out that he was backing out of New York, is if Billings is going to be the next stop on the train.
Which is well, I guess they require a population of 1 million to support all the folks they need. So
the state itself could potentially be there?
Yes, the entire state. But I don't think it's a good idea, and I don't think that it's what we want.
No, I don't know.
Aren't they all very low-paying jobs? Close to minimum wage? Or
I tell you what, if there's one article I have not seen very often on the internet altogether, it's how much fun and how awesome it is to work at an Amazon warehouse or Amazon company at all.
And really the people that work there are just a stopgap till everything can be automated, so...
Pretty much. It's like, I mean, when you think about it, when you get to a company that size, there's... I mean, even past, like, you know, your normal warehouse workers, when you're talking about the people in the desk jobs and stuff, the IT staff, because they have nothing but servers and, you know, their whole cloud infrastructure and all that. But once they do have a portion that's automated, you know, that's just a full-on cut the limb. We don't need this leg anymore. We've got a robotic one now, you know?
Much more efficient. Definitely non-unionized. So, yeah, I'm not sure we want that. And apparently, you know, these places that are, you know, building these Amazon warehouses have to jump through quite a few hoops to attract them. So, I'm against corporate welfare.
Yeah, I do not think it's worth it. So I'm glad that no one within the state pleaded with Amazon to try and get them to come here. You saw that from a couple other places, and it was a little pathetic to see.
Including one town that said they renamed themselves to Amazon.
Exactly. Stuff like that is just not needed at all.
Don't need that level of pandering. So, well, that's, well, I guess we'll cut things over and shut this down with our local shout-out. I'm going to do the Mudman Burgers, and they're in the Kalispell region.
Ooh.
Of course,
yeah,
Kalispell,
that's right. You
White
had gone up there not too long ago. So, Mudman Burgers. Glad to hear that it's so good.
Good. They're on par, maybe better than Roadhouse. Not Burger Dive, but Roadhouse for sure. You know, making a bold stance there. And apparently, and it's an odd business structure. So I guess, you know, according to the website, I walk in and there's these bunch of the blackest people I've ever seen. And I was like, well, this is strange. And like, asked me about Kenya, and they're literal refugees. So this business is not operated like a business. They, I guess, do humanitarians and missions work in third world countries and bring some of those people back to give them jobs in Kalispell, Montana.
Well, that's really
nice.
Which
has got to be a big change of scenery. So,
well, good. You know, you see a lot of that with the restaurants, specifically with the Chinese restaurants. I've noticed from outside. Anytime I go to the normal small towns, they always seem to have a really good Chinese restaurant.
Do they? Because
well, I shouldn't say always, but
always.
You know, a fair amount. A lot of them do.
I think the last time I tried it, I had an unpleasant experience in the Mile City downtown Chinese restaurant. It was disappointing to say the least, but maybe things are improved for these small Chinese restaurants.
Yeah, when I'm in Mile City, I usually get Mexican.
Do they have a good Mexican place?
They do. They have, gosh, what's it called? I don't want to say La Quinta because that's La Quinta Inn, but it's something